want to thank Amar Chopra, the owner, that have been able to facilitate this and open up their restaurant for us. Real big thanks to them. And now it is with great pleasure that I turn over the event to Otto P. Otto, where are you?
Hello, everybody. We have probably one of the most exciting and illustrious lineups of speakers that I have ever seen in my entire career as a campaign professional. So, I will not belabor things by speaking too much further, but if you haven't met me, my name is Otto Pippenger, he, him, his, thank you, Mark, Janani's campaign manager. So, thank you so much to the amazing women who put this together. But I also want to give a big thank you to Vic's Chot for allowing us the use of this place, this wonderful free food. Yes? And of course, if I may, a happy birthday to Bobbi Lopez again. So, what we are going to do is we are going to hear in turn from some of the most dynamic activists and elected officials of the progressive movement in the East Bay and Bay Area, one at a time, about themselves, their causes, and why they support Janani. Janani will speak for a few minutes and we'll turn it over to a Q&A during which, for about 10-15 minutes, anybody can ask her a question. I do want to thank all of you for donating, who already have. After you've heard these speeches, we will be making a final pitch before we close up for the night. And so I hope that if what you hear tonight moves you, if you learn something about what's possible, please consider reaching deeper. We are on the cusp of winning this thing. You'll hear about this more from Janani, but we do need the support of progressives around this area to stand up to regressives from around the entire country. So, without any further belaboring, I would like to bring up a friend of mine, a very dear man, Sully Albert, Vice Chair of the Berkeley Rent Board. Come on up, Sully. You don't have to, but I ain't ready.
Okay, well, I'll stand. I don't like height. Hi, folks, and I'm here with James Chang, who's also on the Berkeley Board. And I'll keep it brief because I know no one likes long-winded speakers. But we're, like I said, we're on the Berkeley Rent Board, and what we do is we fight for tenants in Berkeley, for people's rights to stay in their home and stay stable and secure. And the crisis of housing in our community is so acute, and for far too many of our elected officials, it's about numbers. It's about how many thousands of units, how many millions of dollars, how many thousands of people. And one of the reasons I'm so proud to be supporting Janani is that I know she doesn't just see numbers, she sees people. That from her experience working with the EBCLC, the East Bay Community Law Center, working directly with tenants who need to be safe and secure in their homes, she understands these things impact real people's lives every single day. And that's why a core part of her campaign is that in addressing our crisis of homelessness, the best thing to do is to keep people in their homes in the first place. That the solution for our community, absolutely. That the right to stable, secure, safe, environmentally sound, affordable housing, that's what will keep our community together and our community home. That will prevent displacement and gentrification. It will keep people off the streets. And that's why I'm so proud to be supporting her, because she understands this issue, that it impacts real people in our community. I know that Oakland will be so thrilled to have Janani. I wish we had more candidates like Janani running for council in Berkeley. We could really use them. And so as much as I would like it over here, I know Oakland will benefit immensely. And so I'm so glad she's coming.
All right. Next up, we have got another excellent person, another very dear friend of mine, Ukrainian activist, excellent person all around, the chair of the California Dem Party's Enviromental Caucus, my dear friend, Mr. Igor Tregub.
How we doing tonight? I'm gonna get off this. We like the sun, and that's one of the reasons that I'm supporting Janani. See,
Igor, stand on the table, stand on the table.
On the table.
So, by day and night, we all are. I've been in the trenches with many of you. I know that we are working on three things: saving solar in California, saving the planet, and saving my home country of Ukraine. And on all three of those inextricably intertwined issues, Janani has always been there. When we have a safe solar rally that we're putting together on 48 hours notice and we need a bunch of people to show up, Janani shows up when we need petitions signed. Janani shows up, and she brings a posse of folks that are just as committed as she is to those 3 core missions. Folks, you all know this. I don't have to tell you. Our planet is in crisis. You've been reading about the situation in Jackson right now with the water shortage there, and reading about the historic droughts and the flex alerts, or the so-called utilities public safety power shut-off events that we're going to be having this weekend. Our planet is burning, and we need quality, committed local leadership to change the trajectory of our generation and every generation. And Janani is that person. And that's why on September 17th, after the Alameda County Democratic Party that I chair is going to complete its endorsement, where Janani is on the consent calendar to be endorsed, I will be officially and very proudly joining you all to offer Janani that endorsement, because Janani is the local change that we need. Thank you so much for running, Janani, and thank you everyone for being here.
All right, our next speaker is somebody who may not want to stand on a table, but nonetheless stands taller than just about any of us. One of our organizers for this place, one of the activists who has supported me on pretty much every campaign I've ever fought for, my dear friend and the chair of the Progressive Democrats of America, East Bay Chapter, Shirley Galup.
Thank you. I have a new knee, so I can't do this. Next time. I'm going to give you a 2-minute history lesson. In 2013, there was a guy in Southern California by the name of Tim Carpenter. And he was hanging out with guys like Tom Hayden, and he said, we need to find someone who can run for president that will be honorable, that will do the right thing. And he searched and searched and searched, and he came up with one person. Who was it? Bernie Sanders. And we started the Run Bernie Run campaign. And after he said, wow, all these people in LA, all these people in Richmond, all these people in Oakland, they want me. So he ran. And we did some remarkable things in 2016. We did remarkable things in 2018. But the important thing was that it was all about ethics. And Bernie is still the #1 politician if you survey people as to who is the best, ethic-wise. And he does what he believes, he does what's right for people, and he doesn't sit back. So when I learned that Janani Ramachandran was on the Oakland City Public Ethics Commission, I thought, this sounds very interesting. And I talked with her about it, and she told me that one of the most amazing things that happened was that she was able to get a $300,000 fine against a corrupt city building inspector who was taking bribes under the table to let people pass on their inspections. So the fact that a citizen could just go and care enough about what's going on in our city tells me an amazing amount about what she will do when she's actually elected to help this city. So remember, ethics, not just what you think about, but it's what you do. Right. And she's a doer.
Okay, so next up we have a very kind and supportive friend of ours who also happens to be the representative and alternate for one of our absolute strongest endorsements, Congressman Ro Khanna. So it is my dear pleasure to introduce Mr. Vinnie Bacon.
If I fall here. Anyway, yeah, of course, we did try to get Congressman Ro Khanna to come here tonight. I'm sure you'll all forgive him. As you know, he is busy kicking ass in Congress and doing all sorts of great things, so we'll let him do that. But and I actually do serve as his alternate on the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee for Alameda County. And it looks like I might not even have to vote for Janani, but of course, whether I was Roe's alternate or not, I would be very happy to vote for Janani endorsement. I first met Janani on Twitter. I saw her posts and I was like, wow, this is pretty impressive. Why don't you come to our Southern Alameda County Progressive Democrats? And so we interviewed her and I was like, oh my God, she's the real deal. She is a solid progressive. We need to get her into the assembly. And of course, she was lucky I was able to focus on that race because nothing else was going on at the time. But anyway, I was really sad to see how that turned out. Of course, establishment money, we all know how that, messes up progressive values. But I said, my God, I really hope something else comes up for Janani, that we can get her doing something. And then when I heard about this with Shang running for mayor and this opening up, I was like, oh my God, excellent. We got something for Janani. Now people think of me as the Fremont guy, because I am the Fremont guy. I actually lived in Oakland for 10 years. And actually I worked 3 separate jobs in Oakland, so I know this town. I love this town. Funny little story, my wife had a beautiful home in Fruitvale. And when she met me, she was like, Vinnie, I like you, but why the hell you gotta live in Fremont? So anyway, we eventually did, and I brought her down to Fremont, which is something I need to forever thank her for. But anyway, we have Oakland, we definitely love Oakland, and we really appreciate this town. It is the heart of the East Bay. We need progressives on that city council. We need Janani Ramachandran on that city council. And I am so hard to be here today speaking on her behalf, because we definitely said, and one other little story I want to close with. I brought a referral to the Fremont City Council for rent control. And of course you had all sorts of people coming out talking about how very thinly veiled racism, saying we don't want to be like Oakland. And literally the first thing I said when it came my turn to speak, I said, you know what? Oakland is a great city. Yeah. We can learn a lot from Oakland. And it really was insulting to hear all these people, putting down Oakland. And I will just say one thing, just to start a little controversy, because that's me. Yes, it's true Oakland lost the Warriors. It's true Oakland lost the Raiders. But you know what? Oakland still kicks ass. And you don't need sports teams to be a quality city. And Oakland will kick ass even more when we get Janani Ramachandran elected to the Oakland City Council. Thank you.
All right. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker. I believe I've introduced everybody henceforth as my friend. I have not met this next one before today, but I very much hope to be a friend. And moreover, am greatly honored, in all seriousness, to have the support of Mr. Amar Shergill, chair of the California Dems Progressive Caucus. It means a great deal to us. Let's give it up for him.
I feel like I've been called forward to test the table. And so, just letting you know, I'm happy to be here in Berkeley because it's cool. And I'm from Sacramento, where, brother, it's hot. Siblings, it is hot out there. And I've exported 2 kids to Berkeley, part of the reasons, and I want you all to help me embarrass them right now. My son, Armand, and my daughter, Sansara. There's Sansara right there. They're the reasons I got involved in activism. When they were very young, I looked around and I saw that the world they were going to inherit was not the one that was given and granted to us. And that's the reason why I'm here. That's the reason why I'm supporting Janani, is that I know she cares about those same issues. And when I talk to her, when I talk about the issues, because as chair of the Progressive Caucus, that's what we do first. Whenever I'm introduced to candidates from around the state, I talk about the issues first. What I learned is that, look, she's a Berkeley law grad, and didn't do like some graduates, but went to work not on her own self-interest, but for others. Defending those who are challenged, whether it's survivors of domestic violence, people with housing challenges, immigrants. She put her skills to work for them and for the community. So it told me she not only had the heart, but she had the right skills. But what I also look at for candidates is are they willing to fight? Because I know some folks that are heart's in the right place, and they have the skills, but they don't have the fight in them. And what I see from Janani all the time is that she is just unafraid, unabashed. When she talks about the issues, when I talk to her in person, it sounds just like when she's talking in a small group, and she sounds just the same when she's talking publicly. And that is rare. Give me a yell if you know that's rare. You know, when you find a candidate like that, you've got to support them. And you know, yes, we talk about the big sexy campaigns like Senate, but the truth is, like Igor was saying, we need progressives at every level. And when we talk about what really affects you day to day, it is sheriff, it is DA, and it is city council, and that's why we need Janani there. And I will wrap up with this: is that if we are going to build the progressive movement, if we are going to build change with candidates, we are going to need folks like Alfred Too. We are going to need Soli reelected. We're going to need Janani in the Oakland City Council. And if you're with me on all of those, put your hands together and let's make sure we elect them. Yes! Thank you all. Take care.
All right. Next up, we have a fellow young queer candidate who has been out in the trenches with us, both besides us directly on basically every cause worth fighting for. It gives me great pleasure to introduce my longtime friend, Alfred Too, candidate for AC Transit Board. Come on! Yeah.
Hi, everybody. It's so great seeing so many of us here. I think the last time I saw so many of us together was at the Bernie Kratz dinner at one of the, back when those events were still in person. And I remember during the Bernie movement, he says, you know, it's not me, it's us. We all got to go run for our local offices. And here we are. Johnny and I have spent many weekends just knocking on hundreds and hundreds of doors up in the Oakland Hills, talking to people, because we got to win all the seats, not just the hard progressive districts, but we can challenge every seat and we can win. And that's what Janani is doing, making sure that even the Oakland Hills can be a progressive stronghold. And that's right. And when we talk to voters up there, you see that even among the huge wealth in the Bay Area, there are a lot of people struggling. There are people who are retired and having trouble making ends meet. There are people who are still living at home because they can't afford their own place. And these are the people we got to fight for. And with Janani on Oakland City Council, I know Oakland has been making so much pioneering efforts on things like vacancy taxes, on tenant protections, eviction controls, that we can continue leading the way here in the East Bay, because wherever the East Bay is headed, that's where California goes next. And wherever California goes, that's where the country follows. Thank you, everyone.
Our next speaker is somebody who has been an ally of pretty much every cause I've ever fought for in the last couple of years, whether it be statewide, San Francisco, or here in Oakland. She supported us early last year, and that made a great deal. And now, after being frozen out of the political process as it was, to see the kind of change that is happening in our party apparatus, in our activist organizations, to have the support of this person means a great deal. I would like to introduce somebody who serves on the Alameda County Democratic Party Central Committee, the State Party Executive Board, and of course is the state politics for the Wellstone Democratic Renewal Club. Our birthday guest, Bobbi Lopez.
I'm getting old. I don't know if I can make it all the way to the top. Okay, all right, we did it. This is a beautiful view of so many people in the progressive movement in the East Bay. And I'm just here really excited to support Janani, because I think that, frankly, I live in Oakland. This is a very personal thing when you're raising your children in a city where there's an immense number of problems. Oakland is facing some of the biggest challenges we've ever seen. Not just the issues with violence, but homelessness and housing. We have 3,300 unhoused people on our streets right now. And the city, instead of providing housing for folks at places like Wood Street, just push people to other neighborhoods. And Oakland as a city has had many failed policies. There's many great things that have come out of Oakland, but right now we're not working, and our city administration is not working to solve housing. We were supposed to build 5,000 low-income affordable housing units. We did not. We did not. And those units could have housed those 3,300 folks. So why am I talking about this? Because at the end of the day, Oakland right now needs really strong leadership. It needs someone who's going to have tenacity and who has fighter all written all over them. Is there anybody here present that you know that has fighter written all over them? Exactly. We need someone who's not going to be afraid to challenge the administration. We need someone who's going to fight for everyday Oakland residents who are on the streets who are getting paid less than $8. I remember you were talking about all your work working with folks that are underpaid. These are real challenges being faced by people in Oakland. And we need someone who's going to really speak up and fight for everyday Oaklanders. And so I'm really proud to support Janani. And I think it's really important folks support, not just by coming to these beautiful events, but by walking for Janani, right? By phone banking for Janani.
Yes.
Text banking.
Yes.
Telling your neighbors. Giving those extra pennies at the bottom of the jar, whatever it takes. We got to get Janani on there because we need a real shift in Oakland. And Janani represents a new level and new era of leadership. And that's who we need to be supporting. So I'm proud to be here. I'm glad you all are here too. Now let's make sure she wins.
Happy birthday again to Bobbi. Let's have a hand. Okay. Our final speaker is somebody who has not only been making historic and unprecedented change at the state level, it is somebody who has been a great supporter of the campaign and a great source of inspiration to both me and Janani. So it is a great honor for not only myself, but Janani as well, I'm sure, to introduce Assembly Member for AD 25, Alex Lee!
Are you all pumped to get Janani in the Oakland City Council?
Yeah!
Well, I'm as well. I'm really glad to see so many familiar faces who've been with her since day one of this campaign and of course the campaign of last time. I can tell you how difficult it is to be running against the status quo, not taking a single cent of corporate money. Because in California, and I talk about this all the time, in California, if you were to run for Congress or even president, you can't take money directly from corporations. But if you run for state assembly, run for city council, you can. And that is double dipping at its worst. And when you're running against the status quo, it is very difficult because you can be outspent so much. So I hope today you'll really dig deep, give an extra $20, $100 even. I think the max is $900. $900. And if you can do that, that'd be amazing. Because if someone today does $900, I will match that $900 today. And $900 is much more reasonable than our $4,900 max in the state assembly. So please do. Because if you do and you come up to me and you tell both of us, I will match at $900 because I believe. I can only match one time. I mean, not if you do it. 250? Okay, I hear 250 already. We'll do the bidding more in a sec, but I just want to say how important and brave it is. Because when you're running against the status quo for a second time, a lot of these special interests that want to prop up people will continue to do that. And she is running a kick-ass campaign right now and is very brave, but there's still a lot of special interests coalescing around it. Obviously in this room or in this outdoor space, we have a lot of supporters, a lot of friends, but it is expensive still to get to every door that she wants to get to, talk to every voter that she wants to talk to, and yell over every train horn that comes her way, right? So it is important to cut through the noise, and if you can donate, that gets the message out there. And doing it the grassroots way, a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there, is the way our democracy should be. And I'm confident that if you get into city council and we keep growing our corporate-free movement, it will be the landslide that those special interests don't want. There's a reason why they target me, target Janani so often, is because they don't want people like us in power, because that will usher in that new era. And when you tell this message, where you're knocking on doors, calling voters, texting people, is you notice that it's not just popular amongst progressive people. It's popular amongst every voter, every person, because they don't want our politicians being bought and sold off of, right? Republicans will say this, Democrats will say this, independents will say this. In fact, when I even did a polling in my own district, before I even knew my messaging was popular, and thanks Vinnie for inspiring me to be corporate-free, is being corporate-free in even my suburban district was the highest polling messaging in the entire district. It cut through all party lines, and that is the reality of our democracy today. It is too often bought by the highest bidder, not by the people with the strongest passion and commitment to our community, and that person will be our next city council member. So without further ado, let's hear from our next Oakland City Council member, Janani Ramachandran.
Everyone is in this space right now. How kind you have all been to me in the past 18 months. Almost 1 year ago to this day, August 31st, 2021, we did the near impossible. I was told when I started my political journey last year, no more times than I can count, No, you shouldn't run for this because you're not experienced enough. No, you shouldn't run for this because you're too young, you don't have enough money, you don't have political connections, and most of all, you should wait your turn. Every no fueled me more and more every day. But what really inspired me to keep going despite the noise, despite the no's, was all of you. All of you are pouring your blood, sweat, and tears into races across the East Bay, the Greater Bay, the state of California, and the nation. Your work to get candidates not just to run, but to win is what inspires me to keep going right now.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, when you run against $2 million being spent against you, when you run against big pharma, the gambling industry, the big tech industry, you run against people who never want you to see you in office again. So this year, we are fighting for what continues to inspire me to this day. The biggest lesson that I learned was that voters, in not just Oakland and across the Bay Area, are ready for something different. They're ready for politicians who don't fit the mold, people that are told no time and time and again. They are ready for a queer millennial South Asian workers' rights attorney to represent their voices. They are ready to challenge, for leaders who challenge the status quo, who say no to the status quo and yes to a future with accountability.
That's right.
And that's what we're doing this year. In our Still Corporate Free campaign, we are representing the people. We are bringing a brighter future for Oakland that will set the tone for cities across California and the nation. Oakland is a historic city. Right now, we're in the news for homelessness and crime and blight and all the things that our right-wing friends love to complain about, but Oakland has history, it has culture, it has the arts, the diversity, the power of the revolutionary spirit to make change. And that's the world that I want to make Oakland known for again. Economic opportunity and prosperity and so much more. But we're also in crisis. Like mentioned in one of the speeches earlier, we have almost 10,000 unhoused community members, 1,000 of which are minors, are children. We have roads in awful conditions. We have people dying every single day because of gun violence or pedestrian safety. We have an exodus of longtime Oaklanders, small business owners, legacy small business, culture makers, community members that make Oakland, leaving because they cannot afford to stay. We need to keep our communities right here in the East Bay and continue to invite those who make our communities whole. A little background about me. My story begins with my family. My father's actually right here. Let's give my dad a My family immigrated from villages in southern India, from small towns in southern India. They came here to get economic stability, economic opportunity, a better life for me. And they were able to get that through the immigrant struggle, through working multiple minimum wage jobs, through working jobs represented by public sector unions, and eventually earning living wages, quality health care, a stable pension, and so much more. I started my journey as a maternal health worker, representing immigrant mothers, mostly in domestic violence situations, many of whom were on the brink of being unhoused or in shelters already. My journey continued on at Berkeley Law, not really around the corner, but partly across the other side of town over here. I represented tenants who were being evicted, brutally evicted in the middle of a global pandemic. Survivors of domestic violence being denied the shot at safety they deserve, and most recently at Centro Legal, representing immigrant workers getting their wages stolen week after week. It doesn't matter if I'm fighting for a $22 minimum wage, which I still am. It doesn't matter that Oakland's minimum wage is a big $15.06. If the reality is I am working with women who are making $8 an hour right here in Oakland, right there in Oakland. the truth is we need leaders who bring a fresh perspective. When I served, as Shirley mentioned, on the City of Oakland Public Ethics Commission, I got a window of insight into who holds power in our town and why our communities get left behind. I saw the greed, the corruption, the mismanagement, and that is why it is time to demand radical transparency. Time to demand answers to the difficult questions of where our money is going. Time to demand leaders that inspire trust and hope. So I ask you, this is 2022, our year to make a difference up and down the ballot, all across the East Bay, in the Bay Area, in the Greater Bay, in California, and beyond. If you believe in a brighter future, if you believe in living wages, ethical government, paved roads, community safety, and so much more, pick the candidates that are corporate-free, that are always going to choose to represent the voices of the people and not those who will fall to the power of big corporate dollars. Choose the candidates that are going to represent your voices and only our community's voices. Do the homework, support the candidates that can make a difference, including those in this room right now, and I ask you for your continued support to help me bring in a more equitable, accountable Oakland. So thank you. One more time, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you to all of our amazing electeds, our warrior women of our revolution hosting tonight. Thank you, Assemblymember Alex Lee, Progressive Caucus Chair Amar Shergill, Amod Chopra, who's hosting us at VIX in this beautiful setting tonight. Thanks to each and every one of you for making this happen. Go support good candidates.
All right, everybody, that presents the end of our speaking program, and I mean that when I say that, so I won't belabor you. I do want to say, in almost a year of working on this campaign, from the early days, I have never seen such an incredible crowd, both of electeds and longtime activists, and also just everyday, supportive, engaged citizens show up to an event like this. There's really no doubt in my mind, looking around this incredible turnout, that the momentum is with us. So let's have a hand for you.
Yeah!
All right. So, we're going to have some friends stick around. Candidates. First, I'd like to give you a quick update on what we are here for, which is to raise the money to finish getting Janani into office. We are trying to raise $5,000 and I am thrilled. As of this moment, we are already more than halfway past our goal. So let's hear it for you. Thank you to everybody who gave us. They came in, who gave before, who gave previously. It means an immense amount. So, again, I promised that I wouldn't speechify, but I will say that we are up against some of the most powerful and well-funded forces in this region. Now, money is powerful. If you are completely overwhelmed, there is nothing that you can do about that. However, what we have been doing is we have been out there since April. We have been knocking every single door, having 20 to 30 volunteers a week, working their knuckles raw, right? We have been calling. We have been sending Janani out 4 or 5 days a week to knock on doors. We have been getting the support of every meaningful union, of every club. We have the big unions. We are about to have the Democratic Party. And all of this means that we are on the cusp of achieving an unprecedented victory. The powers that be made a mistake when they did not schedule another pawn to take this slot. It is incredibly rare, I tell you, as a longtime political professional, to have somebody who is not beholden to the powers that be, who has not made any of these commitments, who is coming to make change, have so much opportunity to get into office and deliver immediate political action. So, we are on the cusp of winning this thing, but what we are going to see is a tortoise and hare situation where money will flood in. It will flood in from corporations. It will flood in from politicians, moderate politicians on the other ends of the country, right? And we need to finish this race. So, I want to ask each and every one of you to look inside yourselves. We do not need a ton. Our dollars, with the volunteer base that we have, with the enthusiasm, with the ethical legitimacy that we have, go 5, maybe 10 times further than any opponent of ours can. And I say that in truth, without exaggeration, as a longtime political professional. So, after after this, we're going to take a quick group photo. I hope we brought enough signs. I don't know if we did. But I want to ask each and every one of you, if you have not given already, even a token amount helps us to prove how many of our donations are small dollar and local. If you have already given, please consider if you can give half of what you already gave, or even less than that. We are on the cusp of achieving our highest goals for our fundraising tonight, and I want to ask each and every one of you to ask yourselves if you can help us to make that goal. So, sorry to go on so long, but I'm deeply thankful to all of you. So, with one more big hand for the candidate and speakers, we'll take a group photo, then come find me right here so we can do this. All right?
And a hand for Otto, who put this all together.
Oh, please, a hand to Carol and Ina and Shirley and everybody else.